Is the Richmond Grows Plant Now Guide. We are really excited to be sharing it. It has a lot of information going on. This is a large poster that is right next to the collection. It is bilingual and it has the common name in English and Spanish. It has the drawer where it's located, the seed saving level, and then what months you can plant it, as well as when are the best times to plant it for seed saving. So let's look at this first row here, amaranth. So you can see common name amaranth, the Spanish name amaranto. It's in drawer number 9. The seed saving level is easy when one variety planted. It can be planted these 4 months, and if you were specifically interested in saving seeds, planting in April and May would be the best times to do that. There might be not enough time in the season if you plant later to get the seed. We have several varieties, several kind of indications or levels of seed saving. And so some of the decisions we had to make were obviously our main focus is on providing food and nourishment and to our community. And we're doing the best that we can in order to maintain the variety or providing information for people. And we also live in an urban area where a lot of people are growing food. So these are some of the decisions we made to kind of minimize cross-pollination. For example, with amaranth, which is wind pollinated, we're encouraging people to just, if you want to maintain that variety, then just grow one variety. And so you're not introducing any cross-pollination. And, while it is wind pollinated, maybe no one around you close is growing it, or the houses between you are going to minimize that pollen flow. And then some things are super easy to save because they're extremely self-pollinating. So you could grow several common beans because they tend to be self-pollinating. And so you could return high quality seeds even if you had more than one variety. And then there are some things such as the brassicas, in particular Brassica oleracea, which includes broccoli, cabbage, kohlrabi, and many others, where they're insect pollinated, and so you can't necessarily see where those insects are going. And while we are encouraging people to save the seeds from them and say that the parent was this, variety of broccoli or this variety of cauliflower, we don't really know who the dad was and so where the pollen was coming from. So we're just going to encourage people that are saving seeds from those to just label them as crossed. And I do want to make a note that it is super important for us to start with high quality seed. We're talking about open pollinated seeds, heirloom, or landrace mixes. Do not save from hybrids because some of them actually can introduce male sterility into your line, so that would not be good. So, and then obviously if we're starting with landrace mixes, they are going to be a mix intentionally. And then there are some things in this area that we are hesitant to accept. For example, carrots, because for a number of reasons, while we don't have the issue of worrying about having to take whatever, in many parts of the country and world, carrots and beets are very difficult because they need to overwinter and you need to pull them out of the ground. We don't have that issue here because we don't have freezes and we can grow 365 a year, but we do have to worry about population size with carrots. So carrots can inbreed if you have a small population. The recommended population size is 50. It's got to overwinter. And if Queen Anne's lace, which is the wild relative, is around, it could introduce it into that, and it could be a woody, inedible plant. So we tend to only accept carrots from people that we know who grew them. And let's see, with the cucurbits, we're encouraging people to either hand pollinate or mark it as crossed. So someone else's cucumber could have been some insect could have brought in pollen from another cucumber. We do actually grow a lot of landrace mixed cucumbers that are just contributed by the community and allowed to promiscuously pollinate. So that is fine, and we just label them as a mix. And then there are some, so the one I want to really draw attention to is the winter squash and the summer squash. So once again, either hand pollinate, and do watch the video on how to do that properly. So with winter squashes, if the pollen came from another variety of winter squash, you're going to have some interesting winter squash mix. However, we are leery to accept the summer squash that hasn't been hand pollinated, or that we don't know the grower, because first off, there are some kind of weird crosses that could happen. So for example, zucchini could cross with spaghetti squash, so that's the same species, and that might be an odd tasting or textured cross. And then some of the ornamental gourds are actually bitter and could introduce bitterness into that, so that would not be desirable whatsoever. So with the summer squash, this is why we either say hand pollinate, or we don't really accept that one. Once again, from people that we don't necessarily know. For example, we do grow a lot of landrace mixes, but we also are very clear not to grow it where there's any ornamental gourds or other varieties in that species. Okay, so hopefully that is our overview of our new thing with a little bit of seed saving in there. Once again, the main thing when you're saving seeds, if you are saving seeds for your seed library, is to really clearly label things. Like what was the parent plant, and if looking at here and kind of identifying if you think that it likely crossed. It doesn't mean that we won't necessarily accept it, but we do want you to label that this was the parent plant, but it could have crossed. And then obviously returning clean seed and putting the year on it so that we know how old the seed is. Those are all super helpful things when being part of the seed library. And so we're hoping that this chart helps you to see when you can grow things and when you can grow things for seed. Once again, this is for coastal California, so this is not something that's going to translate to other people who may be watching this, but hopefully it might inspire you to create something similar for your own community. Okay, hope that's helpful, and happy seed saving.